stress really affects a lot of your living experience. I mean, almost every aspect of your living experience is influenced or affected by stress. We're not talking about the kind of stress that we can manage called eustress. That's the kind of stress that maybe motivates you, gets you excited, gets you going. You're planning for a big wedding or a nice trip, and so you're excited about that. It's stress, but you can handle it. What we really deal with in the Silva method is the stress that what paralyzes you, immobilizes you. And that's the stress that we want to manage, because it really does hamper everything you do. It hampers your relationships. It hampers the way you do business, the way you love, the way you communicate. Everything is affected by stress. More than that, it also affects your health. I mean, some researchers say that 90% of all health challenges are due in some way or another to stress. Now, we have to remember that the stress response, or is what we call the fight or flight response, is a response to perceived danger. It's called fighting or fleeing. And eons back, when we really had to fight for survival or run away from some dinosaur, thinking of us as chopped liver, at that time, that we really had to put into action the fight or flight response, the stress response. It allowed chemistry to go into our system. It allowed blood to flow into our arms, our bags, and our legs to activate us to either fight or run. Our eyes narrowed for a better focus. Our frequency went up. Our heart started to beat faster. Inner processes were put on hold. Digestion stopped. There's so many things that happen when you trigger the fight or flight response or the stress response. And the thing is that most of the time, we're just triggering that for things that don't merit it. Oh, we lost our keys. Where are my keys? And we get really upset about things like that. And all of a sudden, we're triggering the stress response and causing our heart to beat faster and inner processes to be put on hold and chemistry to be released into our system. We're late for a meeting. Oh, we're late. Hurry up. And here we go again. So we have to question, how many times do we do that day in and day out? And can your body support that? Can your body constantly be, picking up or kicking up the beating of the heart and stopping inner processes and releasing chemistry for things that really don't merit it? But most people do it all the time. And that's why we call it chronic stress. Problems such as sleeplessness or insomnia or headaches and migraines, aggravated ulcers, aches and pains, and arthritis. The list goes on and on and on. And if you're only getting headaches or aggravated ulcers or insomnia, you're lucky, because that's just the first signs that stress is kind of kicking into your living experience. And it's a great time to put a stop to it by meditating for 15 minutes. But if it gets worse, like arthritis, hypoglycemia, glaucoma, you need to meditate more than once a day. And some people, because of all the stress in their life, they're suffering heart attacks, strokes, weakened immune systems, cancer, things like that. And you really need to take time to meditate at least 3 times a day. But the interesting thing about this is that the fight or flight response is a behavior. You're fighting, you're fleeing, running away. And we no longer have to run away from dinosaurs or animals that are going to eat us up for dinner. We no longer have to fight to survive. It's apparent that we have survived. And so what we really need to look at is the transformation of the fight or flight response. And what that means is that it too has evolved through times as we humans have evolved through time. And instead of fighting, we are now getting angry. I get so angry, I wish I could punch him out, We feel that way. There's so much emotion, anger. And instead of fleeing, we're afraid. What if I don't make it? What if I don't get successful? What if he doesn't like me? What if I fail? And that anger and fear has literally replaced the fight or flight response. And when you think about the distinctions of two, one, the fight or flight response is a behavior, or their behaviors, whereas fear and anger are emotions. So you really need to start thinking about that emotional part of you, that emotional body that inhabits you. And how healthy is that? How healthy is the emotional part? Because really, it's the emotional part that's making you sick, or lacking the management of the emotions, expression, connecting to them, understanding them, following the line of fear and following the line of anger. If you follow the line of fear, anger, what is there really to be afraid of? And where really is the anger? Those are your 2 greatest vehicles for personal growth and development, personal evolution. But most people don't do that. Most people just stay away from that and continue to get angry and afraid, and they reinforce that instead of understanding it, learning from it, and growing. So you need to work with the emotional you. You need to work with that part of you that is really governing so much of your living experience, that has its feelers into your relationships, has its feelers into your health, its feelers into your success. Because until you do, it's going to take the best out of you. And the real clue to cue you in are when you feel like you're moving from comfort towards stress. Where do you feel it in your body? I personally feel it right here in my stomach. I feel like, kind of like a little cringe in there, like uh-oh, right there immediately. I know I'm moving from comfort to discomfort, from calm to stress. And I have to ask myself immediately when I sense it, I said, okay, what's happening? What am I feeling right now? And a lot of times I'm feeling, because I'm kind of a control freak, sometimes I'm feeling like, oh, things are not going my way, because I want everything to go my way. And, we have to be tolerant and accepting that that's not always the case. And my ideas are not always the best ideas or the only ones. And so again, I recognize the fact that I'm a control freak and I want things to go a certain way at a certain level. And then when they don't, I get stressed out. Or sometimes I feel like, the situation is hopeless. It's never going to work out. And because of that, I get really stressed out. So hopelessness is another one of those feelings. There's times that some projects seem so big that I'm thinking, God, I can't. I mean, I'm helpless here. I don't have the skill level. I don't have the tools or the knowledge. I feel helpless, and that's really stressful. And other times I feel like I'm not good enough, maybe, and I feel like others are not going to accept me or appreciate me, and so I feel like a fear of rejection or a fear of abandonment. And so those core emotions, remember they're emotions, are really kind of undercurrents that lead a person to move from comfort to stress. And if you can recognize what's being triggered, you can recognize more easily how to manage them. And anytime they're being triggered, any emotion being triggered, it's not about the you who has all these skills and tools and resources in the present. I'm an adult woman. I have every single resource available to me, but sometimes it slips my mind. And we need to remember that we've got these resources, and we just stop, think, and just allow them to surface. Because when emotions like helplessness and hopelessness and rejection and fear and anger and all these things are being triggered, they belong to your past, to a you that's a lot less resourceful. And we may want to recognize that in order to be more capable of handling any situation. So I would say that one of the first things that we really need to work at is, what are you afraid about or of? What are you angry over? And really follow that line of fear and anger and learn from that, grow from that, and evolve from that, and recognize that it's the emotional you that really has its feelers in a lot of different areas in your life.